Welcome back to TV47 News Tonight. Thank you for staying with us. And as earlier promised, let's now talk matters Ford Kenya amid the fracas and mess at the National Delegate Conference today endorsing Moses Wetangula as the party leader. Let's bring in Tongaren Member of Parliament Eseli Simiyu to discuss that with us. Good evening, Mheshimiwa. Thank you for your time tonight on TV47.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start from the basics. Who tonight is the party leader of Ford Kenya?
I think the matter remains as it was in June last year, because all these matters are before court. So it remains that way.
And it remains that way in the sense that
what was done today was not an NDC. This was a convivial gathering of One Kenya Alliance.
We will come to what was done today, Mheshimiwa, but when you say the matter remains as it was of June last year, yes, that means there was a conservatory order reinstating Moses Wetangula as the party leader.
And that is where the matters are.
So you acknowledge him.
What happens today has no reflection on that.
Fair enough.
That's where matters are.
We will come to that. So you acknowledge him as the party leader?
No, we don't acknowledge him because we had removed him. He's hanging on with a conservatory order.
And let's talk of what has happened today. A section of the party says there were national delegates members who endorsed Moses Wetangula as the presidential candidate in the 2022 election.
National Delegates Congress members were in their respective counties. The people gathered there are like when you can mobilize people to come for your meeting who are not necessarily delegates elected at the grassroots. The delegates elected at the grassroots, those who attended, when I counted, were not more than 300 out of a contingent of 2,220. Yes.
And given that the party and the party leader says this was a national delegate congress whose members endorsed him as a presidential candidate.
That's him saying. And you know, I've always told you, I don't know how many more laws and illegalities Weta has to break to keep on holding on to Ford Kenya. Yeah, because when he says that, it doesn't mean that it's true. No, you see, there's a problem you are facing here with Wetangula. This is Forum for Restoration of Democracy. But unfortunately, Wetangula exhibits no shade of democracy at all in his demeanor and in his actions. So actually, his being allowed to be at the helm of that party for 10 years is an accident of history. It should never have happened.
You refute what happened today. You are in the same line of thought with another party leader who claimed he was the party leader, Wafula Wamunyinyi, who termed the Congress meeting today as, quote, null and void. Does this deepen the already existing division in that party?
It is null and void. And I've told you that what was there today was not an NDC, but a convivial gathering of the One Kenya Alliance. Yes. There was no NDC there. One, because there was already an order stopping, because we were going to have an NDC. He was going to have an NDC. There was already a tribunal order stopping it. So he could not have it. But since he had invited people, he went ahead to have a general gathering.
And just for purposes of clarity, that order is by the political parties' dispute tribunal,
yes,
which you say he has neglected and went ahead to call for a conference of the delegates. Does this, and I rephrase perhaps my question, deepen the already division in that party?
The division is severe now. By that action alone, he has caused a severer damage to the party than what was there before. So I think for him, his action, to me, appears to be, so long as he retains that name Ford Kenya in his pocket, he doesn't care what else happens to the bona fide elected grassroots leaders of the party who then form the National Delegates Congress.
And let me ask you this. This party has often been termed as though it is a Western party, a party that is based there, which begs the question, how much of Bungoma's politics is responsible for the division in this party?
I think part of definitely Bungoma politics has played a role, and national politics has also played a role in this way. Bungoma politics has played a role because as we speak now in Bungoma, elected Ford Kenya MPs, that's constituency MPs,
Yes.
are 3 out of 9. That doesn't make you a stronghold. Okay? And of those 3, one is thoroughbred Tanga, who came in, and he came in recently. He came from Jubilee, came to Ford Kenya, given a ticket, became an MP, and immediately declared his support for William Ruto. That gives you an indication of what's going on in Bungoma. When you look at the elected MCAs of the 45 wards, Ford Kenya did not get half. That's not a stronghold. So yes, you are right. The local politics is playing a role. And the fact that Wetangula is the senator of Bungoma and has failed to be a unifying factor, he has been a divisive factor. So yes, local politics plays a role. Now national politics plays a role in the sense that quite a number of people in the party felt that Wetangula was leading the party in a direction they didn't want, because he's got one leg in Tanga, one leg in this newfound Okoa Kanu alliance. I'm sorry you call it Okoa Kenya, me I call it Okoa Kanu.
You say Wetangula has one leg in UDA?
Yes.
Where do you base that argument on?
Because all the MPs who support him within the party and all the MPs, all the MCAs who support him within the party are Tanga. Those who don't support him are with us.
But at least he's not public of dalliance with Tanga, dalliance with UDA, isn't it?
He's hiding in plain sight. You know what hiding in plain sight is?
I suppose that will need a political interpretation,
No,
depending on which side you are.
Hiding in plain sight means you are doing things and people think that you are not doing them, but you are actually doing them. They can see them. Yeah.
But is it not what we can see observably, that Wetangula is part of the One Kenya alliance and not UDA as per the public utterances and political showpieces? You
know, I can tell you something. If there's anybody who knows political acrobatism, is one Moses Wetangula. This One Kenya alliance, to me, is going nowhere. And he's aware of that also. So all his foot soldiers are in Tanga, while him is pretending in One Kenya alliance. But all his foot soldiers are where? In Tanga. That's why I call hiding in plain sight.
Fair enough, and I'm sure once we host him, we will ask him of that. Nonetheless,
but in fact, ask him to enumerate the number of MPs in Ford Kenya and how many of them are with William Ruto.
Fair enough. Let's talk of the faction that he leads. There were One Kenya Alliance leaders in that meeting who endorsed him, who at least talked of Wetangula being a presidential candidate of the Ford Kenya, which presumably will be part of the One Kenya Alliance.
The presidential candidate.
What of the side that Wafula Wamunyinyi leads?
You see, we don't
the side you are part of.
We don't want to keep on lying to ourselves. A presidential candidate always ends up as a senator. No. Let's stop cheating on Wananchi.
He's a senator now, but he has been endorsed as a presidential candidate for the 2022.
He has been endorsed before. Similarly, but has always ended up in the Senate. Yeah.
Despite being a coalition member, isn't
you remember even the other time he launched his campaign in Kakamega? That was for the 2017 race. And then he went to the Senate.
He was part of the National Super Alliance.
The usual lies. We who are in the Wamunyinyi faction just got tired of the lies.
All right. And given that he says he's part of the One Kenya Alliance,
well, he says,
who will your faction, your side support
so
the
far,
2022 presidential bid?
When our NEC and General Council met the last time, they authorized us to reach out to other people and start talking to them. So far, we've reached out to Raila Odinga, we've reached out to Mukisa Kitui, we've reached out to Kivuda Kibwana, and we are trying to reach out to many more. So for us, we are still exploring which faction, which coalition will be able to enter. So for them, they're in the so-called Okoa Kanu alliance. But I don't think that alliance is going to last.
And for the purpose of the record again, that alliance is One Kenya alliance.
No, it's Okoa Kanu.
That's your interpretation.
No, it's not my interpretation. That's why I told you, hiding in plain sight.
All right.
Count them. Kalonzo, Musalia, Wetangula, Jirongo now. All these are Moi orphans.
All right, and you mean they were former members of the Independence Party Kanu, is it? Fair enough, they were.
So that's why I call it
they are part of the One Kenya. Fair enough, let's move from that. They are now part of the One Kenya alliance.
No, they call themselves One Kenya. I call them Okoa Kanu because you can't say One Kenya alliance when among your, how many principles are they? There are 5. Of the 5 principles, 3 are Luyas.
All right, let's talk of...
Which One Kenya are you talking about?
Fair enough, that's what they say, and that's why I'm insisting that at least it's a name, that is what they say.
That is their name.
All right.
But I know my interpretation is different.
And you have a freedom and a right to interpret it the way you want.
Yes, and I call it Okoa Kanu.
Fair enough, let's move from that and talk of what your side is accused of. You and Wafula Wamunyinyi are accused of plotting a coup and exercising one to that extent in Kenya's second oldest party.
Well, what's the problem with that? Wetangula did it on Combo. So why shouldn't we do it? Why is it? Because does it mean when he does it, it's okay? When somebody else does it, it's wrong? And does he did it on Combo.
Fair enough.
Why should we do it on him?
Does it make it right that you repeat a mistake that was that was done before?
No. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. If that's the way, by the way, if you look at the history of Ford Kenya, there's never been any smooth transition. There's never been.
But that's
the history of Ford Kenya. But the fact that, in fact, I said this at the beginning, the fact that he got a chance to lead a party such as Ford Kenya was an accident of history, but it's now time to end that accident. Because this is Forum for Restoration of Democracy. Wetangula has got no shade of democracy in his activities. So it was an accident of history that he led such a party. So now it's time for him to leave. He can call it a coup, he can call it whatever he wants to, but the same way he took over is the same way he's going to leave.
Mheshimiwa Eseli Simiyu, given that there was a wrong historically done, does it correct it for the same mistake to have been orchestrated by your faction of the political party?
It doesn't matter. You can accuse us of coup, whatever I say. It was good for the goose, is good for the gander. That's the way he took over the party, that's the way he will live.
All right, and because of the interest...
You had the story about who lives by the sword?
Yes.
Has to perish by the sword?
Fair enough. And because of the interest of time, probably one last question. We are talking of unity in Ford Kenya. We are talking of unity in Western region, which begs the question, given the glaring division in the larger Mulembe nation, is it possible to unite the Luyas ahead of the 2022 election?
This thing of giving a dog a bad name and hanging it is not right.
Is it?
Who said there's divisions in Mulembe nation? Look at it this way. From the time we went to multi-party democracy, Mulembe nation also evolved with the multi-party democracy. You look at 2002, the Mulembe nation virtually voted to a man for Kibaki. In 2007, there was just one split, that Bungoma Trans Nzoia voted for Kibaki, while the rest voted for Raila. Come 2013, you saw they were all together voting for Raila. In fact, Musalia at that time was a presidential candidate and got less of those votes. Come 2017, the same, they all voted for Raila. So this division you talk about is these greedy leaders up here. These greedy leaders are the ones who give a semblance of division among the Luyas. No, the people themselves are not divided.
Despite the diversity in terms of elected members on different parties. No, in the 2017 election, that is the region that had members from ODM, from Ford Kenya, from Jubilee Party.
But look at it carefully. Look at it carefully. Here is a Jubilee MP in a constituency, has been elected as an MP with no MCA. Or one MCA. Doesn't that tell you about Chebukati's organization? Doesn't that cast doubt on how they are performing their functions? So please, don't blame the victims.
All right.
people who have been victimized by the electoral body itself, then you blame them. It's not right.
and finally, you say there is no division amongst the people.
No.
But there is division among the leaders. That we observe, that we see, isn't it?
The leaders are the ones who are greedy and selfish, and therefore they squabble for the spoils.
All right.
But they were Wananchi themselves. No, they are very united.
Given that Moses Wetangula was endorsed as a presidential candidate for the 2022 general election, given that we have on record Musalia Mudavadi saying he will go contest as a presidential candidate, that will point to a division, isn't it?
But let me ask you, was Musalia and Jirongo in that meeting?
They were not in the NDC of today, isn't it?
You've answered.
But there are other members who are supporting that.
No, you've answered. Why weren't they there?
You cite their absence in that Congress.
You know, sometimes in politics, actions speak louder than words. Why weren't they there? Why weren't they there? Is it because Musalia and Jirongo feared that if they go there, therefore appearing to support Wetangula, they are going to lose the ground in Western?
So their absence was strategic in your interpretation again?
Not my interpretation. This is plain. I'm telling you that in politics, actions speak louder than words.
All right, Mheshimiwa. Then what next for Ford Kenya as we finalize?
What we'll do, because time is running out, elections are around the corner, there is this court order where there's supposed to be a mention on 15th and therefore hearing. I like the tribunal because the tribunal doesn't take too long with the political cases. It's not like the High Court where Wetangula has tied up everything. Even that case he took there last year is yet to be heard. We don't even have a mention date. Okay? And he's been surviving on that conservatory order. Unlike the High Court or the Appeal Court, at least the tribunal moves things very quickly. So we expect that this will be heard quickly and then we move on. And I know, since this meeting was illegal, I expect the Registrar of Political Parties not to accept those returns. Because if he accepts those returns, he'll be going against a court order.
All right, and that's where we will have to end the quick chat on Ford Kenya, Mheshimiwa. Thank you for your time.
Although I saw today that the Deputy President was in my constituency. Yes. I was very amused as I've been watching the pictures of him in Bungoma. When you look at the rundown marketplaces that he was in, if you see the two shops, what does that tell you? The poverty in Western. Where people come to capitalize on our poverty by throwing a few coins here and there for people to fight over and then say now they are your incoming leaders. It's sad. It's a shame.
All right, and that's where we'll have to end this discussion. Thank you.
When Chebukati's organization has allowed voter bribery early on before even the election period.
All right, Eseli Simiyu is a Tongaren member of parliament. We were talking of Ford Kenya, the fracas to that extent. A section of members of that party today through a National Delegates Congress, which the Wafula Wamunyinyi side refutes.